I am an apothecary, not a sorcerer.
Apothecaries and coffin makers, two trades that call this plague a happy harvest.
He's in for debt.
Because I have spent all that I have to find a cure. And I have one. One that would change the course of this whole contagion.
A cure? You think you know better than the College of Physicians? Sulphur, onion, turpentine, all the ingredients are cheap and easy to find.
And useless.
I used to read cures aloud, on the street, to those who had no skill with letters. I'd get a penny a page. My father taught me.
You read? Well, why did you not ask for the neck verse?
It's the rising of the womb. It often addles a woman's brain when it doesn't make them run foolish altogether.
What is that? This neck verse?
Some psalm you read aloud to the courts. They never send you to the tree if you can read Latin. You should tell them.
But then it won't save your neck for every crime. Not, for instance, for treason.
No, not treason, obviously.
Or murder.
No, never for murder.
Or burglary, if you stole enough.
And did you? Steal enough?
What vinegar works best? Pickling, malt or wine?
I've had some small success with Venice treacle for the plague.
Because the base is opium. You may be dying, but you no longer care very much.
And toast sprinkled with nutmeg and garlic with a cup of sack has set a good many back in their feet.
Didn't you see the comet? Near to Christmas, we saw a great slash of a comet with a huge tail that hung in the sky just before the first cases were cried out in St. Giles.
Indeed. I got up before dawn every morning for a month. It was a rare sight. It originated in the conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter in Sagittarius.
It was sent by God. His great fist holding up a flaming sword, surrounded by clouds shaped like flying coffins.
Licorice can be very useful too. And avoiding cucumbers.
The royal court saw it, and all of the king's men left town, and the king too. They follow him like dogs in everything, but soon they shall all be snatched away in the midst of their guilty pleasures.
And cherries. Eating cherries is very ill-advised.
The pest cart is piled high with corpses with pagan charms around their necks. Those who die now will not be awakened until they are awakened by flames. My father said
I used to catch flying frogs.
Frogs don't fly.
They did, until I caught them.
And what, you made potions of them?
No, I turned them inside out and made lanterns. Their skin was just thin enough for the light to shine through.
Weren't they rather dim?
Of course, that's why they were easy to catch.
You're wasted as a nurse with such a wit.
Oh, I know a cure worth more than a world of wit.
And so do I. So do I.
Mine is to hold a live chicken to the sores when they first appear.
Well, that's ridiculous.
I know. Who can afford a live chicken these days?
What were you pulled in for? Peddling your dried frogs as a cure? I bet you did well at it. And a good few coins.
Oh, I did draw a crowd. I did. Facing down an infamous quack in Drury Lane. He was giving out handbills promising free advice to the poor.
And was it not? Free?
Oh, the advice was free. But the advice was to buy his physic, so I stood at his door and turned away his customers. Alas, sir, I cried, you have laid a snare for the poor. You advise them gratis indeed, but only to buy your own medicine. I soon had 29 honest folk about me, declaring he'd deceive them all. But the alderman had me dragged off here, innocent as I was of riotous intent.
It is not innocence that keeps a body out of prison. It is influence.
No matter. I shall have my trial soon and look to be out the same morning. What's the basis for your remedy then?
something wicked, unnatural, damned.
No, it's based on alchemy. Alchemy.
The blackest of arts.
Alchemy combines the very spirit of nature with philosophy and allows us to penetrate the very soul of the world.
A very masculine pursuit then in all regards.
Well, only the study of scriptures bring wisdom and truth.
Do you read stars and nativities? Oh, I've always fancied hearing... Did you ever hear of Dr. John Dee? He could summon angels to predict the future.
Believe all science. Trust in wonder. Faith shines above and reason under.
I heard he had angels coming up the stairs in swarms like bees. Not that you can understand an angel most of the time. I'm told they talk down here in the throat, like the French.
Magic will ravish thee. You must forsake magic.
Peace! It is not magic.
Alchemists are compacted with the devil. They mock God by trying to change his creations, by looking to create gold.
I cannot create gold.
No? Or is that the real reason they've locked you up in here? So like that wee little man in the folktale, you can spin gold out of straw?
I remember that story.
If I could create gold, I would.
There was an alchemist once worked for Edward I. When the king asked him if he could make gold, he said, "Of course, put a tax on wool." They made £6 million in a month.
Oh, great wealth is never honestly acquired. Not by kings, not by anyone. You must never seek to.
I am not seeking. I tell you, I have found it. I have the formula right here. Here it is.
My father said that alchemists can turn themselves into rare visions, as handsome as Apollo, to creep into maidens' beds and then become invisible when the alarm is raised.
If the alarm is raised, if...
The cup of life is bitter enough without you seasoning it with imaginary terrors. Once you start believing such things, there is no extravagance you may think unlikely.
But my father said...
Your father used to walk up Fleet Street in a loincloth, with the pan of life coals upon his head.
Do you two know each other?
Dragged around since you could stand upright, this one, handing out his declarations of doom and destruction. Though he scattered so many sparks as he went, he carried the seeds of destruction himself. Nearly set the city alight more than once. Oh, everyone knew Mad Michael and his daft daughter.
Then why did you ask her name just now as you came in?
I'm always intrigued by the latest gossip.
London deserves to be set alight. London is profane. Theft, murder, sacrilege. If God has decided to make an end to this miserable city, then all shall die. Great men, witty men, poor men, fools, bakers, watermen.
No lists, stop it. I hate lists. That is a drab tale. You are a drab girl. Half the time I think you talk as if you had a turd in your teeth.
Why don't you tell him the true reason why you are immune to this plague? Because you are a witch.
I am immune because there's only one sure remedy, and always has been. And it's not chickens or frogs or smoked horses' testicles or powdered unicorns' horns or...
And it is?
To have had it, rode it out, and recovered.
How many recover?
3 in 10. 4 in 10 sometimes. I did. This distemper sweeps in through London every 20 years or so, and it always dies away of itself in time. Prayers and elixirs won't move it much one way or another.
It is much worse this time.
Nonsense. I've seen worse. Much worse. You're young, that's all.
Listen to that. What was the bill of mortality this week? 800? 900?
I don't read the broadsheets.
You can reckon it out for yourself. The local parish bell tolls daily 5 or 6 times. There are more than a dozen London parishes affected already, making it at least 1,000 each week. Not counting those who die in the pest houses who get no funeral, no prayers, and not counting those whose families bribe their nurses or searchers to say that they died of an acute attack of anxiety. Anything so the house isn't locked up with everyone in it for the month.
No, the quarantine is not.
Quite right, it is not.
But common sense. 'Tis the same precaution King James introduced to the contagion of... well, I know not the year, but the one before the one when I was struck down with it. So that would have been...
But every house must report anyone falling sick within 2 hours of any blotch or swelling appearing. Who rushes to comply with that?
But in both visitations it has helped.
No one. You cannot simply lock people in.
You can. You must. They post a stout watchman and...
And then the family sends a young son scampering off over the rooftops, or knocks him on the head with a chamber pot.
But we must have the sick contained.
And relatives and friends of the sick? It's not about curing patients, it is about keeping order.
But the result is
That thousands are ready to break out in riot. Unless there are Quakers, of course, who ignore the quarantine to begin with. Did you know that there are more than 40 Quakers here in Newgate right now, simply for helping each other?
Presbyterians and nonconformists spread more by meeting in secret.
And wasn't your father a nonconformist?
he was, until they turfed him out. Then he was a beggar.
He lived off the bounty of the blessed,
A fanatic.
an enthusiast for the Lord, and he kept himself very clean.
In Fleet Street ditch.
Clean well's enough, and filth and sluttishness cause as many deaths as...
Mind who you are calling sluttish. If I dared to stand close enough, I dare say you might stink mightily.
I heard our Lord Mayor's daughter died of a very sudden fever, but there was never a red cross on their door.
There are other diseases still about.
Oh, tell the truth, Mother. Have you never reported a plague death as galloping gout or an excess of wind?
Well,
After all, you are paid to search each body regardless. How much is it?
a shilling. Or a trinket.
You see, there is no incentive to tell the truth, so there is no containment. Each Sunday, hundreds crowd into St. Paul's, beseeching the angel of death to pass them by, all the while giving him the very best opportunity to strike them next.
Well, we must all live as we can.
Is that gold?
Oh, yes. That's gold.
Then I can do it. We have the gold.
I have the gold.
I only need one other ingredient, the prima materia.
You're not having this.
Listen to me, listen to me. There is a plant. A little wild plant that grows in Spitalfields, where I live. And this plant, it lets off an oily substance, which melts the gold and
You're not having this. It's mine.
becomes the aurum potabile.
Nope.
The very secret to long life and health.
Don't give a flea's fart.
Once you have the plant, you separate the leaves from the stems. You only want the leaves. The steps are then purification, fermentation, sublimation, rarefication.
Fornication, defecation.
Hold your peace, can't you?
Once it is rarefied, you add a little of the substance to gold, and the oil from the plant melts it. I've tried essence of eggshells, alcohol so strong it burst the vessel which contained it. I even tried blood. But this one plant will melt it.
Melt the gold.
Yes, that's right.
Why can't you just melt gold by itself? Gold does melt, does it
It
not?
needs tremendous heat. But this plant, it liquefies gold when cool, and the mixture is very potent.
This oily gold.
Yes, you drink it.
Gold?
Yes,
And it stays in you, doesn't turn hard and come out the other end when you...
no, it's absorbed completely and protects you completely from this plague. Any plague, any disease at all.
And you've tried this.
No, because I have not had the gold. But if we make it, we can cure people.
For how much? Could we sell it for, I mean?
We?
£5 an ounce.
But that's more valuable than gold itself.
I know.
Gold, but worth more than gold.
Liquid gold.
And people will buy it.
Those who want to live. You said it yourself. There's more than one way to make gold. And a fortune. Make it with me.
No, where did you get that?
It was my father's. He was a physician. It was the only way to get back here in the end. And the herbs and pepper in the nose offer some protection, so they say.
Where have you been these last 3 weeks?
In Spitalfields, as I said.
Oh, and did you find it? Your magic plant?
What I found was my mother stricken. While she was ill, I tended her. When she died, I was forbidden even to follow her to the churchyard. Then, Just as she was being loaded onto the pest cart, I heard a great shout, and a crowd of people came storming up the streets with swords and pistols, terrifying the watchmen, flinging hot coals at their heads, breaking into houses, setting all the inmates free. Many of the plague-stricken came tumbling out. Half-naked souls with boils upon them will surely be found dead in the street in the morning. Houses were looted. Some even set on fire until the leader was shot through the heart by a constable.
You joined him. The rioters.
There was no help for it. It was a sea of anger. Arms flailing, staves crashing into ribs. My pockets were ripped. I nearly lost all in the confusion. You will not believe it. St. Paul's itself has been turned into a pest house, with bodies stacked outside in the alley. They must now collect and bury them in daylight because night is no longer long enough. Imagine it. There's not enough dark for the dead. Our own searcher was too tired to even come up the stairs to see my mother's corpse. She just sat there, panting in the heat while I described the symptoms, and then she just nodded, signed the papers, and went puffing away. They've killed all the birds in cages. And rabbits. All the dogs and cats, too. They killed my dog, Samson. He was only 3 years old.
Now shall be the day of the vermin, then.
I think we should go together. All of us.
Together? What for?
It'll be much safer together.
No, we should stay here, together. It's here that we're safe.
It'll be much safer in the country. Just think we can walk out together and keep on walking right out of London.
You heard her. She's staying.
No, she's not. You're not.
Oh, but I...
Make up your mind for once, can't you?
Oh, this is our home. We'd be leaving our home.
Home is just a place you leave more slowly than other places.
Then if I do go, you have to come with us.
With you too, infants. Pff.
We could use your talents. You are good with crowds.
Crowds? What crowds?
We could go to Oxford. Or Warwick, where there are still people in the streets.
Do you know what happens to travellers leaving the city gates? Huh? The country folk chase them back in with pitchforks.
Cannot know that.
Oh yes, and if you fall asleep under a tree or in a field, they knock you on the head in the night and throw you in a ditch.
Or one of us could stay awake and keep guard.
We can buy certificates of health.
Then you'll be knocked in the head and your certificate stolen.
Hannah!
And even if just once, your potion fails, you'll be strung up.
Oh, we'll look out for each other, whatever happens, like a family.
No, I have a better plan. A better way. This is my plan. There's many an abandoned house right here within the city walls. If I stay in town, I can fetch myself up in richly fitted lodgings for a while, and a very little outlay.
You mean break into houses?
What do you think the king's men do now the rich are out of town? They break in and help themselves to whatever's left behind and call it tax. If there's money left lying around, is it better off spent in a war or on the poor? Me.
Oh, you have no more need to steal now, and in time we could buy our own house with 3 fireplaces and a carriage.
I can have that now. There are homes and carriages enough for the taking.
No more.
I'll be on my way then. I'll have more than enough.
You never have enough.
That's enough, girl. I'm warning you.
I know you, and you are...
And I know you. You are a fearful, pathetic, spineless little creature, and you always have been.
What do you mean? Always?
I should have killed you at birth, but I always had a fondness for girls.
Killed me?
We had a son first. We sewed him in a sack and set him off down the Thames. Well, he went down before he went off. I should have done the same with you.
No!
Yes, that's families for you.
Good God.
Oh, you two deserve each other. Children, both of you. No idea. You think it's bad out there? Well, I've seen worse. But I do know how to survive. I dare you to do better.